eclipse that is coming on July 2nd. So we're going to be talking about that today. It's going to be quite a event, and it's going to be happening in the nakshatra of Ardra. And if we move forward and look at this, now I'm recording this on June 24th, 2019. If we move this forward, let's see. We'll notice as the moon gets closer to July 2nd, the moon passes through, well, it's in Pisces now, and then it goes through Aries, Taurus, and then Gemini, and then on July 2nd, we have it here. So I see some people are showing up for this, and if you're here, you can let me know, say hi, and let me know you're here. So there's a lot of, very transformational stuff that's happening right now. And, one of the things is that I did a webinar about this earlier this year. And I wonder how many people actually went on it, because the webinar is very much outlining all of the stuff that we've been seeing. And, many times I put these things together and a lot of people sign up, or people sign up for it, but not a lot of people avail themselves of all these free teachings that I give. I just put a link in the comments for people to watch the 2019 Gemini Rahu Ketu in Sagittarius web class that I taught on this. And I outlined all this energy that's going on. I also did a 2019 Vedic astrology forecast that outlined this time of the year as being so transformational. So people should avail themselves of these extensive teachings, because you're going to learn a lot. Again, they're like hour and a half long, and I have a lot of case studies, and I present all kinds of stuff that really allows you to understand what happens when these nodes shift. And you'll be able to see how things have really changed since Rahu and Ketu moved into this axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. So I see Julie Casey is here. Soleil R. Mahina is here. Goddess 10 is here. Pratyusha, fingers crossed. Candice Vavra is here. Alexandra Tutita. Christina Cade is here. Some of these are students from a long time, and some who are getting certifications. I see Rory is here. Marina is here. So again, this is a great platform where I can share this information, and these sessions that we can do and talk about this. You can ask some questions as I go as well. I'll probably present this information for about a half hour or so, and then you can ask some questions. I see Jeff Poole is here and Tak is here. Okay, so again, you see that we have this. This is when we're going to have the solar eclipse. So it's going to happen on July 2nd. And what we're already seeing is a real concentrating of energy that is aligning a lot of potential difficulty in the world. And this eclipse, I just wanted to double check, is going to be happening. It's going to be, the geography is going to be in the southern hemisphere, and it will eventually hit the the countries of like Argentina and Chile in South America, that's going to be the path of the solar eclipse. So we might see some literal situations taking place down there, some disruptions taking place in South America. But of course, one of the things that we've been seeing in the last couple weeks is a lot of stress and worry and fear, at least globally, about the potential for an escalation of tension and war, perhaps, and with Iran and the U.S. And again, this would be an utter disaster. And it seems as though, at least surprisingly, at least I'm surprised that President Trump has at least shown some restraint, because he surrounded himself with these warmongers, especially John Bolton and Pompeo and these other people that are, seem to want to go to war with Iran, or at least want to goad them into striking so that we have the justification of striking back. And this would be absolutely catastrophic. There is no, obviously, just on the surface, because firing missiles at each other and killing who knows how many people would be just a disaster for the world. Of course, the Iranian people, not to mention setting the Middle East on fire with all of the proxy. And when I say proxy, I mean that Iran has supported other organizations in the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Afghanistan, in other places. And again, this president bumbling into a war is a real danger right now. It's very, very, very dangerous. I hope it doesn't happen. Obviously, I think the whole world hopes it doesn't happen, because the U.S. is just so, we're all alone, and we're potentially, and we're wrong about this, I think, for sure. This, again, the biggest problem with Trump has always been his incompetence, because we had the Iran agreement in place. The entire world was on board for it. They were complying, and there was great cooperation where it was possible that the citizens of Iran, who are also not supporting the hardliners, that all of the things that could be difficult in the Middle East could start to calm down. But of course, because Trump doesn't understand these things, and he gets into office and aligns himself with the hardliners in Saudi Arabia and Israel, who are against Iran, now it's really very obvious to most that he's been goaded into a position where the hardliners in Israel and the government of Saudi Arabia would love the United States to be the proxy against Iran. It's just ridiculous. And of course, Trump's instincts is to not get into a war, but now he's backed himself into a position. Today he came out and said he's going to impose even stricter sanctions on Iran. This is nothing but damaging and hurting the people of Iran, who do not deserve any of it. And he's backing the hardliners into a place that is very hard to come back from. And he doesn't know what he's doing. And this has always been the danger. Not that he's a monster, but that he's incompetent and unqualified and doesn't understand or care. So again, this is very, very dangerous. And it's really, you see this potential right now that is just right in our face. And as we move to the brink of these very dangerous geopolitical situations, we need to pray. We need to evoke the peaceful mantras, the mantras of peace. Any mantra that you do, you need to pray to God. You need to connect. One of the great mantras, I said it at the last get-together, the last hangout that I did a few days ago, is the great mantra for world peace, Asatoma Satgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. That mantra is the mantra for world peace, and that is also, can help to bring calm into the minds of these crazy leaders. And as Mahina has said, there's possible war between Taiwan and China, and also Hong Kong. There's been uprisings in Hong Kong and China. Again, the war, the tensions around the world are very high, and again, there is so much. As Candace said, danger from floods and flooding of emotions in Ardra. Yes, I started talking about this months ago, that when Jupiter went into this, when he passed over the Gandanta and went back into Scorpio, we were going to have a lot of potential danger from floods. You see, Jupiter is not as much in the Gandanta point now. He's past Gandanta, but Jupiter is retrograde in Scorpio. And when Jupiter poked his head into Sagittarius, that's when we had the Notre Dame fire, because it had gone past the Gandanta and into Sagittarius, which is the fire sign. Again, you want to also understand all of this is based on sidereal zodiac, which of course is the zodiac that we use in Indian astrology in all the texts. The nakshatras and the rashis are clearly aligned. So we saw that very clearly when Jupiter passed over the Gandanta point and went into Sagittarius. We started to see all these fiery problems. Then he goes back into Scorpio, same Gandanta, and we start seeing a lot of the flooding, and he's much in now he's in the Scorpio side, and all the water and the floods. Absolutely. We're seeing that now, Candace, for sure. And we have a lot of, people saying, for example, Modi 2019, War and More War. USA is based on war and violence. About time USA should be isolated from the world. Well, unfortunately, I can't disagree with that. Of course, the people of the United States are like the people in the world all over. And our governments right now in the US, we're going through extremely transformational elections and recognition of these warmongers. And you're right. We are being isolated from the world. And it's just unfortunate. It's terrible. And the people of the United States also, most of the people, a very small percentage of the people, don't understand what's going on. They're brainwashed like people all over the world. But we're waking up. I say we. I've been against this crap forever and against warmongers. And many in the United States have as well. And as Julie said, we collectively pray for peace and protection. And Trump, he got it by God's highest good. If not by God's highest good, at least his own political skin, saving his own political skin, which is what I think is going on now, because he realizes that bumbling into another war is not going to get him reelected. So I think the reason Trump has been shifting and changing is pure, absolute, unmitigated selfishness, as he's motivated by everything, because he knows if he gets in another war, he's not going to get reelected, and he's not. So one of the biggest reasons he's going, whoa, I don't want war. I just want to crush the Iranian people, which he's a monster. This is what's monstrous. He's only motivated by his own gain and his own power. So his own self-preservation, he knows that if we get in a war, he's going to lose. So that's what has to go, whoa, I don't want a war, because of his own self-interest. So again, let's just pray, whatever the motivation and the interest, that these warmongers do not succeed and peace prevails. This is why we want to say these mantras for peace and bring about this stability in the world. And the Woodlift says, thank you for sharing pronunciations of the mantras. You're welcome. Again, it's Asato Ma Sat Gamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya. Somebody who's here who knows these mantras, maybe type that into the comment box. And if Jeff Poole is still here, type that into the comment box. And so now, aside from the world view and what's happening in the world, in a personal sense, in a personal view, there's a lot of enormous healing potential and healing necessity for all of us with these transits. Healing meaning connecting to our own inner strength and our own internal revolution and destroying the darkness that has us hypnotized. And thank you, Mahina. Yeah, type the whole thing in one box instead of 3 different things. Do it all at once, please, because I want to highlight it. So aside from that external, now it's a great time for meditation and connecting with spirit, connecting with the truth through your meditations and mantras to Lord Shiva, or, this meditation to Lord Shiva, to drink the poison of the world, to remove the poison from the world and from our minds. I just taught a weekend course or a weekend class in preparation for my course on the lunar nodes, which will be in a couple weeks. And in that, much of the class, the free class that I taught, was about the whole story of what's called the Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the milk ocean. The churning of the milk ocean, which is a metaphor that describes the nature of meditation and the churning of the mind and the forces of darkness and light in our mind. The forces of darkness and light that are always churning in our mind. And these forces of darkness and light that are churning in our mind. And this is symbolized by the story of the Samudra Manthan, the story of the churning of the milk ocean. So the churning of the milk ocean is the story where the forces of darkness and light, the asuras, who are the demons, and the gods, who are the forces of light, had to agree to work together in order to get the pot of Amrit, or immortal nectar, that exists in the mind. So there's the mantra from Mahina. Thank you for posting that you could say, and I'll say it again. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma amritam gamaya, om shanti shanti shantihi. You could say that mantra 3 times. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Say that 3 times, or 9 times, or as many times as you want. Om shanti shanti shantihi. And as India said, this churning of the milk ocean is a metaphor for the mind and also the Milky Way galaxy. That's what they called it back then too. And this is this is a symbol and a metaphor for meditation and churning up your mind, because your mind is made from the forces of darkness and light, of demons and asuras. It's not literal. It's metaphoric, but it's also literal in the world. We can see it play out in the world as well. You have the forces of light that are trying to preserve the world and trying to take care of each other and bring love and beauty and harmony so that we all get to eat and live and prosper. And then you have the forces of darkness that just want to take all the wealth for themselves, kill people if they need to, do whatever they need to do to seize power and control everything. There is nothing new about this nature of the world. It's always been that way. It's no worse now than it's ever been. It's just that now we see it more. There's more people. There are more people now than has ever been alive. So there's more possibility of more death, but also more light. So you also want to stop acting like now is worse than it's ever been. No, that's not true. In the Middle Ages, it was just as bad. Medieval torture and domineering structures were been around forever. Doesn't mean they always will be, but as the world as we know it has been this way for thousands of years. Now we see it more, so there's more potential for lightness and darkness and destruction because our technology takes us or brings us more, closer to the brink of utter destruction. And so, but our mantras and our intention has a greater effect as well because more people are aligned to do it. That's why all of us need to connect with these forces of light and not just watch videos and then go back to our life scared to death, full of darkness. It's people like you who are going to be the change by saying these mantras, by connecting to the authentic teaching. So we could sit here and say U.S. should be isolated from the world. And again, all that, and Trump is this way and this is that way. And I say this stuff myself all the time so that we recognize what's going on. But what shifts consciousness is your spiritual practice, not your cynicism and your anger and your frustration, but your spiritual practice and your aligning with other like-minded beings in satsang and spiritual practice as well. Because your mind can either go down one path or the other. India is saying waiting for Jupiter to conjunct Saturn. Don't wait for anything. You don't wait for anything. And I understand the spirit of what you're saying, but you can't wait for anything. Right now, you need to do it. And again, everyone could say, well, what can I do? It's bigger than me. What you can do is what you can do. And you're either doing it or you're not. This is what I can do, so I'm doing it. And then I get off, I stop doing this. I have readings. I try to help people. I try to teach. I try to do my practice. That's all I can do. And don't think it's insignificant. It's not insignificant. It is important because it's all you can do, but it's a lot. My Guru Amma always says, don't think that you're one candle. There's all these stories that says, what does my one insignificant act change? Why? It's bigger than me. How can I change anything? It's like bringing a candle in front of the sun. The sun is so big. What does my one candle change? Well, your one candle might not change, or you might not think it changes, but what if everybody where you live, when it's in the middle of the night, the darkest moment of the night, everybody in your neighborhood came out with a candle? How much light would that bring? Well, that would light up the whole neighborhood. So don't think your one act has no significance. It has enormous significance, especially because then you spread it. And instead of spreading cynicism, spread this. Talk about this. Talk about what I'm saying right now. Not just in anger and frustration, but in moderation. Again, first learn this and study it and understand that things are no worse than they've always been. The stuff I said a minute ago. The potential is greater, but so is the potential for healing. So is the potential for consciousness. And elevating and teaching more and more people about this, because that's how the revolution is going to change. That's how it's going to start. I was looking, and I'm going to actually pull it up right now. We just came from a situation. Let me just take this back a couple weeks. We just came from a situation 2 weeks ago or so when we had this kind of configuration. Mars, Rahu, Saturn, Ketu, all aligned on exactly the same degrees. Whoops, let me bring the chart up. Sorry. Here it is. This was a couple weeks ago. You see Mars, Rahu, Saturn, Ketu Let me show you something. One of the most dangerous moments in history was several decades ago, and I just wanted to check it out. And I'm bringing up the date of October 22nd, 1963. This is the chart. Is that right? Oh, wait a second. Yeah, it is. Oh, I actually had something wrong here, because for some reason in that chart, oh, sorry, I had something wrong in that chart before. But for some reason, when I brought it up before, or no, it was 1962. Sorry, that's what's wrong. Okay, yeah, this is wrong. It's 1962. Let me bring it up again. Birth data. It's 1962. There it is. And was called the Missiles of October, because in 1963, John Kennedy was assassinated. But look at this chart from October 22nd, 1963. It was called the Missiles of October, and the U.S. and the Russians were about to fire nuclear missiles at each other. It was the world was on the brink of nuclear war, closer than it had ever been before. On this day, around this time, and look at K2 and Saturn. K2 Saturn were exact, and Rahu Mars exact opposition in October 22nd, 1962. Look up Missiles of October if you don't know what I'm talking about. You had almost exact same opposition that we just went through, almost the same signs. But Rahu Mars, look, 11, 53, and 12. K2 Saturn, 11, exact. The same exact K2 Saturn opposition, Rahu Mars opposition that are coming through right now. The exact same K2 Saturn, Rahu Mars. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous time. This is no joke. If we get into some kind of hot war, and the potential for all these wars is extreme right now. Not just U.S. and Iran, which would set the Middle East on fire, but also, as we say, China and Hong Kong and Taiwan and all this stuff. So you can see this same exact Rahu Mars, K2 Saturn in the Missiles of October that we're seeing right now. This is a few weeks ago, which was when we started really having this cold, or this sort of, you might say Cold War between Iran. It's turning into an almost hot war. So again, this is why we need prayers now. This is no joke. And, this is such real stuff. Now, so again, on a personal level for you, it's about your meditation. It's about your intention. It's about the accelerated spiritual vortex that you're in the middle of. Right now. And again, externally, this stuff is going on. Someone said, so there's a large potential for World War III? Yes. What do you think I'm showing you here? Of course. What do you think? You don't need an astrologer to tell you. Of course. Look, if we start shooting at Iran, Trump almost did it last week. If he would have fired those missiles at Iran and killed hundreds of people, like was part of the mission, Iran would have retaliated, and it would have started escalating in no time. Of course, that could set the Middle East on fire. Attacking Israel, sending off proxies in other countries, and terrorism. This is no joke. And so again, we're in the midst of these times where we not only are going through these dangerous times, but again, this is no joke. And we have one second, trying to find the mantras again, because I want to keep the mantras up. All right, here they are. So yes, we could certainly be, I don't even know what we call World War III, but certainly we're alone. The U.S. is alone. No American citizen should want this. This is horrible. We're not alive. We're totally isolated. Not to mention the financial devastation that could happen. There's just nothing. All of this is very, very, one thing or another is going to get destroyed and transformed in the next few weeks to a month. This eclipse is going to shift and change and blow up something. It is. The other thing that happened, the other big shift that happened existentially was 9/11. We could see even the whole transformational time of what happened in 9/11 happened when the nodes were in this axis. I'll bring up the chart of 9/11. Was here, looked like this, and you could see at that time Rahu was in Ardra. This was the day of 9/11. Look, Rahu and the moon were in Ardra. So was Jupiter. All these planets in Ardra Nakshatra, Ketu and Mars were opposite. This is the chart now. Look at all these planets in Ardra. We have a solar eclipse in Ardra. This is the chart of 9/11. And again, you think this isn't karma coming back and how we handled that. You think how we handled this isn't related to, how we handled this isn't related to the potential right now and our role in the Middle East. Again, so this is real stuff. And this is going to be an explosive, transformative time. And we need to align our prayers and our intention and our thoughts with light and love and beauty and joy and potential for healing. Healing the minds of these people, healing your own heart so that you're not just cowering in fear. So that you're aligned. Again, spiritual practices are also extremely powerful right now. They're extremely powerful. And calling on Lord Shiva to drink the poison, metaphorically, in your mind and in the minds of those who could destroy the whole thing. Now, again, this how this plays out in your spiritual life and your spiritual potentiality is also really strong. So I've made the point about the karma of this externally and in the world. But that external karma, that external power is also internal spiritual power, internal potential. Because when all this stuff lines up like this, all this energy lines up where you have all these planets aligned this way in this axis, it means your Kundalini, which is what Rahu and Ketu are, the deeper energy centers, that deeper current of the goddess energy, of the life force, is pulsating right now. And again, the Kundalini also is operating in the world. And this section of the zodiac is extremely, extremely powerful. It's where the plane of the galaxy runs. Ardra and Mula are where the plane of the galaxy runs. It's the galactic plane, which is like the backbone of existence of our solar system, because it emanates from the plane of the galaxy. It's like the spinal column or the Kundalini of this world. And it's this potential, difficult, dangerous energy, but it's also the source of energy and power. And so this is why this section of the sky is so transformative. So having the eclipses right there now, and I'm saying now, not on July 2nd. July 2nd, we actually have the eclipse, but we have the eclipse power right now. There's enormous power for your mind to connect to the source, for you to get this truth, for you to understand, and your spiritual practices connect you right to that source and power now in a way that they don't usually. Because you're tapping right into the source. The source is really resonant now. You are the source. You are always the source. And that hidden potential is always vibrating and ready for you to tap into it, but it's not always so aligned and so awakened as it is now. So the potential for enormous Kundalini power is really happening now. And your spiritual practices and your intentions are really important now, more than ever. This is also why I'm saying your intentions have impact and change the world. They do. Your prayers and intentions change the world. In fact, they don't even change the world. They are the world and they form the world. The world is formed by all of our collective thoughts, all of our collective energies. When there's a predominance of darkness and fear and stress and worry, that's how our collective karma aligns. When there's a predominance of love and light and joy, that's how the predominant energy aligns. And people get that. It's not even that etheric or that esoteric. Even with the messages that then come through in media and whatnot, we uplift each other. So if you're out there, stop spreading negativity and darkness. You might say, well, what are you talking about, Sam? You're talking about all this war. Yes, recognizing the potential doesn't mean you're just spreading cynicism and negativity about it. It means, and I do have hope. I do think that the world is not going to be destroyed and devastated. It's going to be, there's going to be something destroyed and transformed and changed, maybe even in small ways. I think there could be some kind of, destructive activity that perhaps, wakes us all up. Maybe we saw some of that, perhaps we already hit that. Perhaps we already hit that when Iran shot down that drone, for example. And then let's say Trump was on the verge of striking back and he didn't do it. Okay, perhaps that was the catalyst where now everything is going to shift. In a couple weeks, in a week or two, maybe we could come out and get right back to the, let's say, bargaining table where, they're going to have this conference, the G20 conference is coming up where all the leaders meet. Maybe it's taken something like this to get right to the brink of blowing up the Middle East to then get Trump and these neocons to start thinking straight and invite Iran back into the nuclear deal and start compromising and all this stuff that's not been happening. And start looking squarely at Saudi Arabia and Israel or the backlash against all that stuff. Again, anything can shift. Something has to break and shift. And our collective thoughts, our ideas, our intentions are what shift these things. So watch your thoughts, watch your mind, say that mantra. I'll say it again. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. It means lead me from darkness to light, to death to immortality, and from ignorance to wisdom. And not in that order. Lead me from ignorance to wisdom, darkness to light, death to immortality. That's the literal translation. So all of this is, and Ann said, I don't think we're out of the woods. Of course we're not out of the woods. He just imposed crippling sanctions today. Nowhere near out of the woods. The woods, anything could happen. So again, we're nowhere near out of any woods. And even if we're not going to get out of the woods anytime soon, because anything that's going to shift and transform is then going to have to be negotiated and all of that. So all of this stuff is to awaken that. And when you say these mantras, they naturally calm you down. They calm down your consciousness and all of your triggering. Okay, so again, the worst thing you can do is to make it worse with getting excited and playing into all of this paranoia and hatred and whatnot, especially, or believing the media fixation, the media hallucination, and saying all of that, and the media narrative and all of that. We still have to recognize what's happening, why it's come to this point, and whatnot, and stop pitting people against each other, individuals. The citizens of the world all are wanting to live in peace and harmony. My heart goes out to the people of Iran and the Middle East involved in these horrible, sanctions and getting crippled by these horrible decisions that these awful politicians make in their country, in our country. This is the stuff we need to turn around. This awful patriarchal system that has taken all of this potential that we have to all live in prosperity and joy and love, and tried to steal it for the few. This is the struggle between the demons and asuras, and the churning of the milk ocean that's happening collectively and individually. But you have to start with your world and your mind first. And your meditations and your intentions have enormous power now to heal first yourself, then the world. And that one candle that you bring forth is not insignificant. It's all you have, but that's all you have. And that's why you're here, to do your best. And it's not insignificant, because as soon as you start to become more and you start to flower individually, you become an example for others to do so. And then it spreads. It's viral. So nothing shifts until you shift. And all of that is in your control and up to you and only you. And that's all you can ever do anyway. So again, we can also just get hypnotized by these outer circumstances. And it's very easy to lose ourselves in them. But underneath it all, again, we're all going to pass away one day. And we need to make peace with who we truly are underneath it all, and what the nature is of the self and the true nature of spirit. And so this eclipse on July 2nd in Ardra Nakshatra and leading up to it, extremely transformative time to really get your self aligned with the deeper energy structures in your own mind, your spiritual practices, yoga, asanas, meditation, breathing, chanting of mantras, and all spiritual practice can be really powerful now, like it's not usually this powerful, because things aren't usually this aligned metaphysically. So do your practices with the spirit of devotion, just like Lord Shiva, with enormous courage and heat of tapas and transformation, but a peaceful mind and a calm mind and a cool head. A cool head. That's why we pour all of the different fluids over the Shiva Lingam to cool down, to have a cool head. Have a cool head. Even though I get fired up on these videos sometimes, because when I'm talking I get excited, I try to keep my cool, keep a cool head. That's what those mantras do. That's why people say mantras, because it keeps the head cool and calm. They're sacred vibrations. Just saying them transforms consciousness. So I didn't get to take many questions because I wanted to get this finished, but I want to thank everyone for showing up. And I do have to run now because I have reading. But again, I'll say the mantras one more time. I'll say them 3 times. It means lead me from ignorance to truth, darkness to light, and death to immortality. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There's another one that I forgot. Oh, geez, forgetting. This is the one I said in the last gathering that you can also say. This is the one we've been saying at the gatherings for Amma. And it means, may all the beings in all the worlds be happy. May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. And it's like this. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.